The massive alien ship appeared over Earth without warning. It was black as space itself, shaped like a twisted blade that could cut through reality. The ship was 10 kilometers long and moved in complete silence. Every radar station on Earth screamed alerts as the unknown vessel took position directly above the United Nations building in New York. Captain Kim Dae-ho stood on the bridge of the UDS Indomitable, humanity's first and only dreadnought-class warship. He watched the alien vessel through the main screen, his dark eyes studying every detail. The ship looked ancient yet advanced, covered in symbols that hurt to look at directly. Something about it made his skin crawl. "Sir, we're receiving a transmission," said Communications Officer Song Ji-ho. His voice was steady, but Kim could hear the fear underneath. "It's coming from the alien ship. They want to speak with Earth's leaders." Kim nodded slowly. "Put it through to Earth Command, and get me Admiral Park on the line immediately." The alien transmission went out to every television, radio, and communication device on Earth at the same time. The being that appeared on screens was tall and thin, with gray skin that seemed to shimmer. Its eyes were large and completely black. When it spoke, its voice sounded like grinding metal. "I am Ambassador Vextar of the Galactic Council," the alien said. Its mouth barely moved, but the words were clear. "For too long, your species has been allowed to develop without guidance. This ends now." Kim felt his blood run cold. The Galactic Council was real. For years, Earth scientists had wondered if other intelligent life existed. Now they had their answer, and it was not friendly. "Your species has developed hyperspace technology," Vextar continued. "This technology belongs to the Council. You will surrender all research, all prototypes, and all knowledge related to faster-than-light travel. You have 72 hours to comply." The alien's black eyes seemed to stare directly through the screen. "If you refuse, the Council will demonstrate why we rule the galaxy. Your planet will be cleansed of all life. Your species will become extinct. This is not a negotiation. This is your only warning." The transmission ended. Every screen on Earth went dark for exactly 10 seconds before normal broadcasts returned. But nothing would ever be normal again. Kim's communication panel lit up. Admiral Park's face appeared, looking older than his 60 years. "Captain Kim, I trust you saw that." "Yes, sir." "Orders. Prepare the Indomitable for combat operations. I know the odds look impossible, but we're not giving up our freedom without a fight." Kim felt a surge of pride. Admiral Park had been his mentor for 15 years. The old man had never backed down from a challenge, no matter how dangerous. "Sir, what about the hyperspace technology? Should we consider their demands?" Admiral Park's expression darkened. "That technology represents humanity's future among the stars. Without it, we'll be trapped on Earth forever. Even if we wanted to surrender it, the Council would probably destroy us anyway. They see us as a threat." Kim understood. The hyperspace drive was humanity's greatest achievement. Dr. Sarah Chen had spent 20 years developing it. The first successful test had happened only 6 months ago. It allowed ships to travel between star systems in days instead of decades. "Captain, I'm sending you all available intelligence on the Galactic Council, Admiral Park said. What we know isn't much, but it might help. The data files appeared on Kim's screen. He read quickly, his heart sinking with each line. The Galactic Council controlled over 3,000 star systems. They had 12 member species, each more advanced than humanity. Their combined military force numbered in the hundreds of thousands of ships. One ship against their entire fleet, Kim muttered. His first officer, Choi Hyunwoo, stepped beside him. Sir, the crew is requesting a briefing. They want to know what we're up against. Kim looked around his bridge. These people were the best humanity had to offer. Engineers, pilots, weapons specialists, and tacticians. Each had volunteered for this mission knowing it might be their last. They deserved the truth. All hands, this is the captain, Kim announced over the ship's communication system. By now, you've all seen the alien transmission. The Galactic Council has given us 72 hours to surrender our hyperspace technology or face total destruction. He paused, letting that sink in. I won't lie to you. We're facing impossible odds. Intelligence reports suggest the Council has over 800 ships massing at the edge of our solar system. We have one ship, one crew. But we also have something they don't understand. Kim's voice grew stronger. We have the human spirit. We've never been a species that gives up easily. When our backs are against the wall, we fight harder. When the odds are impossible, we find a way to win. Today we prove that humanity belongs among the stars. The bridge erupted in cheers. Kim felt the energy of his crew, their determination flowing through the ship's corridors. These people would follow him into hell itself if he asked. Chief Engineer Park Min-ho's voice came over the intercom. Captain, all systems are running at peak efficiency. The new fusion antimatter reactors are producing more power than we've ever achieved. If we're going to fight the galaxy, we'll do it with everything we have. Tactical Officer Lee Nari was studying her displays. Sir, I'm detecting movement at the system's edge. Long-range sensors show multiple ships dropping out of hyperspace. The Council fleet is arriving. Kim moved to the tactical display. Red dots were appearing on the outer rim of the solar system. First dozens, then hundreds. Each dot represented a ship capable of destroying cities. How many? He asked. 847 ships confirmed, Lee Nari reported. More are still arriving. The largest ships are incredible, sir. Some are over 20 kilometers long. Kim stared at the display. The Indomitable was impressive at 3 kilometers, but these council ships were enormous. Each one probably carried more firepower than Earth's entire military. Sir, Song Ji-ho called out. We're receiving a transmission from the lead council. Ship. It's Admiral Zephyros, their fleet commander. The alien that appeared on screen was different from Ambassador Vextar. This one wore what looked like military decorations and had scars across its face. Its voice was deep and commanding. Human vessel, I am Admiral Zephyros of the Hegemony Prime Fleet. I have conquered 47 worlds in the name of the Council. Your single ship is impressive for a primitive species, but it changes nothing. Withdraw to your planet and await your fate. Kim stepped forward. This is Captain Kim Dae-ho of the United Defense Ship Indomitable. We reject the Council's demands. Earth will not surrender. Admiral Zephyros made a sound that might have been laughter. Brave words from dead beings. Your ship will make an interesting addition to my trophy collection. The transmission ended. Kim looked around his bridge. Everyone was watching him, waiting for orders. These people trusted him to lead them into battle against impossible odds. All stations prepare for combat, Kim commanded. Weapons hot, shields up. Today we show the galaxy what humans can do. The Indomitable began moving toward the Council fleet, one ship against 800. The fate of humanity rested on Kim Dae-ho's shoulders, and he would not let his species down. Behind them, Earth continued its rotation, unaware that the next few hours would determine whether humanity survived or joined the countless extinct species scattered across the galaxy. The Council fleet began advancing, confident in their overwhelming superiority. The war for humanity's freedom was about to begin. The UDS Indomitable moved through space like a steel arrow aimed at the heart of darkness. Captain Kim Dae-ho stood on his bridge, watching the tactical display as hundreds of red dots grew larger with each passing minute. The Council fleet waited, at the edge of the solar system like hungry wolves. "Distance to enemy fleet?" Kim asked. 4 million kilometers and closing, reported Navigation Officer Han Soo-young. Her hands moved smoothly over the controls, keeping their course steady. "At current speed, we'll reach engagement range in 6 hours. Chief Engineer Park Min-ho's voice crackled over the intercom from the engine room. "Captain, I need to show you something. Can you come down here?" Kim left First Officer Choi Hyun-woo in command and made his way through the ship's corridors. HFY Indomitable was humanity's pride, built over 7 years using the best technology Earth could produce. Every bolt and wire had been crafted with care. The ship hummed with power as its massive engines pushed them toward battle. The engine room was a cathedral of technology. Massive fusion reactors stood like pillars, their cores burning as hot as small stars. Between them sat the experimental antimatter containment units, humanity's newest and most dangerous power source. Park Min-ho met Kim at the entrance. He was covered in grease, and his face showed worry. "Sir, I've been running calculations on our power systems. If we're going to fight 800 ships, we need every advantage we can get." "What do you have in mind?" Park led him to a control panel covered in warning lights. "The fusion antimatter hybrid reactors. We've never pushed them beyond 80% capacity because of safety concerns. But if we override the limiters, how much more power could we get? 50% increase, maybe more. It would give us enough energy to keep shields up while firing all weapons at maximum rate. The problem is the risk." Kim studied the readouts. The numbers meant the difference between a fighting chance and certain death. "What kind of risk?" "The containment fields could fail. If that happens, the antimatter will interact with normal matter. The explosion would destroy half the solar system." Kim felt the weight of command pressing down on him. 2,400. Crew members trusted him to make the right choice. Behind them, 12 billion people on Earth waited for protection. The math was simple, but brutal. Do it, Kim decided, but keep monitoring the containment fields every second. If we're going to die, let's make sure we take as many of them with us as possible. Park nodded grimly. Yes, sir. I'll start the modifications immediately. Kim returned to the bridge where Tactical Officer Lee Nari was studying enemy formations. She looked up as he approached. Sir, I've been analyzing the Council ships. They're arranged in standard attack formations, but something seems wrong. Wrong how? They're too confident. Look at their spacing. She pointed to the display. Those ships are bunched together like they're expecting no resistance. No defensive formations, no screening vessels. It's like they think this will be easy. Kim smiled coldly. Good. Overconfidence has destroyed more armies than superior firepower ever has. What's our weapon status? All kinetic impactor systems online. We have 200 rounds loaded, each one capable of 15% light speed. The rail guns are charged and ready. Missile tubes are loaded with our best warheads. Weapons Officer Yu Sung-min looked up from his station. Sir, I've programmed. Targeting solutions for their largest ships first. If we can take out their command vessels, it might disrupt their coordination. Smart thinking. How long until we can fire? First salvo ready in 5 hours, 37 minutes. Kim activated the ship's communication system. All hands, this is the captain. In less than 6 hours, we will engage the enemy. I know many of you are thinking about the odds. 847 ships against 1. Some might call it suicide. He paused, looking around his bridge at the faces of his crew. These people had families back on Earth. Parents, children, lovers waiting for them to come home. Yet, they stood ready to fight impossible odds. But I don't see suicide when I look at our situation. I see opportunity. The enemy thinks we're weak because we're outnumbered. They think we're primitive because we're young. They're about to learn how wrong they are. Communications Officer Song Ji-ho was monitoring enemy transmissions. Sir, I'm picking up chatter from the Council fleet. They're arguing about who gets to claim our ship as a trophy. Some of their commanders are actually complaining that this won't be challenging enough. Let them think that. What else are they saying? Admiral Zephyros is dividing his fleet into attack groups. The first wave will have 150 ships. They plan to disable us quickly and take prisoners for interrogation. Kim felt anger building in his chest. The arrogance of these aliens was incredible. They saw humanity as nothing more than an interesting specimen to study. The ship's AI, which the crew had nicknamed Sejong after Korea's greatest king, spoke in its calm electronic voice. Captain, I have completed probability analysis of the upcoming engagement. Current survival odds are 0.003%. Thank you, Sejong. Can you improve those odds if we modify our attack patterns? Analyzing. Recommendation. Focus fire on command ships first. Use unpredictable movement patterns. Exploit enemy overconfidence. New survival probability 0.007%. First Officer Choi Hyunwoo laughed despite the situation. Well, we've more than doubled our chances. That's practically a guarantee. The crew chuckled, their spirits lifting slightly. Kim appreciated Hyunwoo's ability to find humor in darkness. It was one reason he made such a good first officer. Sir, Han Soo-young called out, I'm detecting something strange. Long-range sensors show the Council ships are not just waiting. They're performing some kind of ceremony. Ceremony? The smaller ships are forming patterns around the larger ones. Energy. Readings suggest they're charging some kind of weapon system. But it's taking a very long time. Lee Nari frowned at her displays. That's not a weapon. I think they're showing off. The energy patterns look decorative, not functional. Kim shook his head in amazement. They're literally putting on a light show while they wait for us. Do they think this is entertainment? Sir? Song Ji-ho interrupted. We're receiving another transmission from Admiral Zephyros. The alien commander appeared on the main screen, his scarred face showing amusement. Human Captain, your approach is noted. My officers are taking bets on how long your ship will survive. The current favorite is less than 10 minutes. You might want to reconsider those bets, Kim replied calmly. I admire your spirit, but spirit cannot overcome reality. Your ship, while impressive for primitives, carries perhaps 50 weapons. My vanguard alone has over 3,000. The mathematics of destruction are quite simple. Mathematics can be misleading. Sometimes the smallest variable changes everything. Admiral Zephyros made that grinding sound that passed for laughter among his species. What variable could possibly matter in this situation? Kim smiled. Human ingenuity. You're about to get a demonstration. The transmission ended. Kim turned to his crew. All stations, final preparations, park. How are those reactor modifications coming? Almost complete, sir. We'll have full power in 3 hours. Lee, target their command ships first. You, prepare for rapid-fire sequences. Han, I want evasive patterns ready the moment we enter weapons range. Yes, sir, they replied in unison. The Indomitable continued its lonely journey toward the Council. Fleet. Behind them, Earth grew smaller, a blue dot in the vast darkness. Ahead lay the greatest military force in galactic history. Kim looked at his crew one final time before the battle began. These brave souls were about to attempt the impossible. They would either make history or become history. The distance counter continued dropping. Soon the real test would begin. The Council's vanguard moved toward the Indomitable like a wall of death. 150 alien warships spread across space in perfect formation, their hulls gleaming with energy shields. Each ship was larger than any vessel humanity had ever built. Their weapons glowed with barely contained power. Captain Kim Dae-ho watched the approaching fleet on his main screen. The enemy ships moved with mechanical precision, staying in neat rows like soldiers on parade. They showed no fear, no caution. To them, this was not a battle, but an execution. Range? Kim asked quietly. 2 million kilometers, reported Tactical Officer Lee Nari. Entering our maximum weapons range in 60 seconds. Kim felt the ship vibrate slightly as Chief Engineer Park Min-ho's modified reactors reached full power. The additional energy flowed through every system, making the Indomitable stronger than it had ever been. Warning lights flickered as systems operated beyond their design limits. Sir, Communications Officer Song Ji-ho called out, the enemy is broadcasting on all frequencies. They're telling us to surrender immediately or be destroyed. No response, Kim ordered. Let them wonder what we're thinking. First Officer Choi Hyun-woo stood beside Kim's command chair. Sir, the crew is ready. All weapons loaded, shields at maximum, engines prepared for evasive maneuvers. We're as ready as we'll ever be. Kim nodded. Around him, his bridge crew worked, with quiet efficiency. These people had trained for years, but none of them had ever faced combat like this. Today they would learn what war truly meant. Han, begin evasive pattern alpha, Kim commanded. Lee, target the largest ship in their center formation. You, prepare for rapid fire sequence. Navigation Officer Han Soo-young's hands danced over her controls. The Indomitable suddenly changed direction, diving down and rolling to port. The massive ship moved like a fighter craft, its enhanced engines pushing it through impossible maneuvers. The Council ships continued their steady advance, apparently unconcerned by the human vessel's movements. Their formation remained perfect, showing no sign of worry or adaptation. Range, 1,000,000 kilometers, Linari announced. Weapons locked on target. Kim felt time slow down. This moment would decide everything. If their attack failed, humanity would face extinction. If it succeeded, they might buy Earth precious time. Fire! Kim ordered. The Indomitable's kinetic impactors launched in rapid sequence. 20 massive projectiles shot from the ship's railguns, accelerating to 15% of light speed in seconds. The rounds were simple chunks of tungsten and titanium, but at that velocity they carried the destructive power of nuclear weapons. The projectiles crossed the distance in heartbeats. The lead Council ship's shields flared bright blue as the first round struck. The alien vessel shuddered but held together. The second round hit the same spot, causing the shields to flicker. The third, fourth, and fifth rounds punched through. The massive alien warship exploded like a dying star. Its hull split open, venting atmosphere and debris into space. Secondary explosions tore through its structure as power systems overloaded. Within seconds, nothing remained but expanding wreckage. The perfect Council formation wavered. Several ships broke ranks, apparently shocked by the destruction of their flagship. Panicked transmissions flooded the communication channels. Direct hit, Yu Sung-min shouted. Enemy flagship destroyed. The bridge erupted in cheers, but Kim remained focused. Keep firing. Target the ship on the left flank. More kinetic rounds launched from the Indomitable. The Council ships were finally reacting, breaking formation and raising their shields higher. But they moved too slowly. Human weapons were faster than they expected. A second alien ship died, then a third. Each explosion sent shockwaves through the enemy formation. The Council commanders had expected an easy victory. Instead, they watched their ships die one by one. Sir, Song Ji-ho called out, I'm intercepting enemy communications. They're asking how primitives could have such powerful weapons. Their commanders sound confused. Kim smiled grimly. They expected energy weapons like theirs. They weren't prepared for kinetic bombardment. The Council ships finally began returning fire. Beams of concentrated energy lanced through space, each one powerful enough to melt a mountain. The Indomitable's shields flared as the attack struck, but Park Min-ho's enhanced reactors held firm. Shields holding at 87%, reported Lee Nari. Hull integrity intact. Han Soo-young threw the ship into a spinning dive, using a nearby asteroid field for cover. The massive vessel twisted between floating rocks, its hull occasionally scraping against stone. The Council ships followed, their larger size making navigation more difficult. "They're having trouble with the asteroids," Han observed. "Their ships are too big for this kind of maneuvering." Kim saw the opportunity. "Use it. Stay in the asteroid field. Make them come to us." The Indomitable darted between asteroids like a fish swimming through coral. Its human crew adapted quickly to the three-dimensional battlefield, using every piece of space debris as cover or weapon. The Council ships struggled to follow, their formations breaking apart completely. More kinetic rounds found their targets. A Council cruiser took 3 hits and split in half. A destroyer's engines exploded, sending it spinning helplessly into an asteroid. The alien formation dissolved into chaos as ships scattered in all directions. Enemy casualties at 23. "Ships destroyed, 11 disabled," Lee Nari reported. "Our weapons are more effective than projected." The remaining Council ships were finally adapting. They spread out to avoid concentrated fire and began coordinating their attacks better. Energy beams converged on the Indomitable from multiple directions. "Shields down to 62%, Lee Nari warned. "Hull temperature rising from near misses." Kim felt sweat beading on his forehead. The first phase of battle was going well, but the enemy was learning fast. "Park, how are the reactors holding up?" "Running hot but stable," came the reply from engineering. "We can maintain this power level for another 4 hours before risking containment failure." 4 hours. Kim hoped it would be enough. A massive Council battleship emerged from behind a large asteroid, its weapons already charging. The alien vessel was nearly twice the size of the Indomitable, covered in armor plating and bristling with gun ports. "New contact," Han warned. "Big one closing fast." The battleship fired a concentrated beam that lit up space like lightning. The Indomitable's shields absorbed most of the energy, but the ship shuddered under the impact. Shields down to 41%, Lee Nari reported. "That ship packs serious firepower." Kim studied the tactical display. The battleship was moving to cut off their escape route while smaller ships flanked them. The enemy was finally showing some tactical sense. "You! How many kinetic rounds do we have left?" 137, sir. "Load 6 rounds. Maximum velocity. Target that battleship's forward section." The Indomitable's railguns charged. With a deep humming sound, 6 tungsten projectiles launched simultaneously, their combined mass enough to level a city. The battleship's shields flared bright white as the rounds struck in perfect sequence. The alien vessel's forward hull cracked like an eggshell. Atmosphere vented from multiple breaches as the ship's structure failed. Its weapons went silent as power systems overloaded. The massive battleship began to drift, no longer a threat. "Direct hit. Enemy battleship disabled," Yu announced. The psychological effect on the remaining Council ships was immediate. Their coordinated attack faltered as commanders realized they were facing something far more dangerous than expected. Several vessels began falling back, apparently reconsidering their tactics. Kim seized the moment. All remaining weapons, fire at will. Drive them back. The Indomitable unleashed everything it had. Kinetic rounds, missiles, and particle beams filled space with deadly energy. The surviving Council ships found themselves under relentless attack from an enemy they had dismissed as primitive. Within an hour, the vanguard was broken. 47 Council ships lay destroyed or disabled, their crews either dead or fleeing in escape pods. The survivors retreated beyond weapons range, regrouping for another assault. Kim looked around his bridge. His crew was exhausted but triumphant. They had done the impossible, defeating an enemy force 3 times their size. "Damage report," Kim requested. "Minor hull breaches sealed," Choi Hyun-woo reported. "Shields recharging. All major systems operational. Casualties 12 injured, none killed." Kim felt pride swell in his chest. His people had performed magnificently, but this was only the beginning. The main Council fleet still waited, and they would not underestimate humanity again. "Sir," Song Ji-ho interrupted, "we're receiving a transmission from Admiral Zephyros." The alien commander appeared on screen, his scarred face showing something Kim had not seen before. Uncertainty. "Human Captain, you have surprised us. Your weapons are more effective than anticipated, but this changes nothing. You have faced only our vanguard. The true fleet approaches now." Kim straightened in his command chair. "Then come ahead. We'll be waiting." The transmission ended, leaving the bridge in silence. Outside, space was filled with the wreckage of alien ships. Humanity had drawn first blood in this impossible war. But Kim knew the real battle was just beginning. Admiral Zephyros stared at the wreckage floating in space where his vanguard had been. 47 ships destroyed by a single human vessel. In 3,000 years of military service, he had never seen such a devastating defeat. His hands shook with rage as he turned to his communications officer. "Send word to the Council immediately," he commanded. "Request immediate deployment of the elite units. All of them." The communications officer, a thin creature with 6 arms, hesitated. "Sir, the Council reserves the elite units for only the most dangerous threats. They may question the request." Zephyros pointed at the debris field on the main screen. "Show them this. Tell them the humans are not the primitives we expected. They have weapons that can punch through our strongest shields like paper. Our standard tactics are useless against them." On the bridge of the Indomitable, Captain Kim Dae-ho watched long-range sensors as massive ships began moving within the Council fleet. These new vessels were different from the others, sleeker, darker, and radiating an aura of menace that made his skin crawl. "Sir," Tactical Officer Lee Nari called out, "I'm reading massive energy signatures from the enemy fleet. 3 distinct groups are separating from the main formation. These ships are different." Kim studied the sensor readings. The approaching vessels were smaller than the battleships they had just fought, but something about them suggested far greater danger. What makes them different? Their energy output is off the charts, and look at their movement patterns. Nari highlighted the new contacts on the tactical display. They're not moving in formation like the others. Each group has its own unique signature. Communications Officer Song Jiho looked up from his station with worry in his eyes. "Sir, I'm intercepting transmissions between the enemy ships. They're speaking in different languages. These aren't regular council forces." First Officer Choi Hyunwoo frowned. "Different languages means different species. They're bringing in specialists." Kim felt a chill run down his spine. The council's overconfidence was gone. Now they were treating humanity as a serious threat. That meant the real war was about to begin. Chief Engineer Park Min-ho's voice crackled over the intercom. "Captain, I need to speak with you about the reactors. We have a problem." Kim left the bridge and hurried to engineering. The reactor room was filled with warning lights and the smell of overheated metal. Park stood beside the main control panel, his face pale with exhaustion. "The enhanced power output is taking its toll," Park explained. "We can maintain current levels for maybe 3 more hours before the containment fields start failing. After that, we either shut down or risk blowing up half the solar system." Kim studied the readouts. The modified reactors were running far beyond safe limits, but they were the only reason the Indomitable could fight effectively. "What if we cycle power? Run at reduced levels between engagements?" "That might work, but only if we get breaks between battles. If we have to fight continuously..." Park shook his head. "The ship won't survive." Kim made a decision that felt like signing his crew's death warrant. "Keep them running. We'll deal with the consequences when we have to." "Right. Now that extra power is the only thing keeping us alive." When Kim returned to the bridge, the 3 enemy groups had moved much closer. Each formation consisted of about 30 ships, but these vessels looked nothing like the previous attackers. "Sir," Nari reported, "I've identified the 3 groups. Long-range scans suggest they're elite military units from different council species. The first group appears to be Nexus Void Hunters. The second group matches profiles for Stellar Corsairs. The third..." She paused, her face going pale. "The third group is the Titan Guard." Kim had heard those names in intelligence briefings. The Nexus Void Hunters were specialists in dimensional warfare, able to phase in and out of normal space at will. The Stellar Corsairs used exotic matter weapons that could bend the laws of physics. The Titan Guard were legendary across the galaxy. As undefeated warriors, any of those groups could destroy a fleet by themselves, Choi Hyun-woo observed grimly. "We're facing all 3 at once." Weapons Officer Yu Sung-min looked up from his targeting computer. "Sir, I've been running attack simulations against these new enemy types. Our kinetic weapons will be less effective. These ships are built to handle unconventional attacks." Kim nodded. The enemy had adapted quickly to humanity's tactics. Now they needed to adapt even faster. "What's our ammunition status?" 91 kinetic rounds remaining. Full missile complement. Particle beam weapons at maximum charge. Kim activated the ship's communication system. "All hands, this is the captain. We've bloodied the enemy's nose, but now they're bringing their best warriors against us. These are not the overconfident fools we just defeated. These are veteran killers who have conquered entire star systems." He paused, looking around the bridge at his crew. Their faces showed fear, but also determination. These people would not break, no matter what horrors they faced. I won't lie to you about our chances. We're about to face enemies that our weapons and tactics weren't designed to fight. But we have advantages they don't understand. We have desperation. We have ingenuity. And we have each other. The first group to attack was the Nexus Void Hunters. Their ships simply vanished from normal space, disappearing from all sensors. For long minutes, the Indomitable floated alone in the darkness, surrounded by empty space. "Where did they go?" Han Soo-young asked nervously. "They're still here," Lee Nari replied, studying her instruments. "I'm detecting quantum fluctuations all around us. They're in dimensional phase, preparing to attack from angles that shouldn't exist." Kim felt like a mouse being stalked by invisible cats. "All weapons, prepare for 360-degree defense. They could come from any direction." The first Void Hunter ship materialized directly above the Indomitable, already firing. Energy beams struck the human vessel's shields from point-blank range. Before the crew could react, the alien ship vanished again. "Shields down to 78%, Lee Nari reported. "Damage to forward sensor array." More ships appeared and disappeared around them, each attack coming from a different angle. The Indomitable's weapons tried to track targets that existed for only seconds before phasing out again. "This is impossible," Yu Sung-min muttered. "How do we fight enemies we can't see?" Kim studied the attack pattern, looking for weaknesses. The Void Hunters were supremely confident in their dimensional abilities, but every technology had limitations. "Lee, can you detect when they're about to phase back in?" "There's a quantum signature spike about 2 seconds before materialization. But that's not enough time to target them." "It is if we're already firing." Kim turned to Yu. "Prepare proximity charges. Set them to detonate in a sphere around us. When Lee detects a phase-in signature, fire immediately." The next time a Void Hunter ship began to materialize, explosive charges filled the space around it. The alien vessel appeared directly inside a cloud of shrapnel and energy. Its shields flared and failed, and the ship split apart under the unexpected assault. "Direct hit!" Yu shouted. "One Void Hunter destroyed!" The remaining Void Hunters adapted quickly, phasing in at greater distances. But Kim had found their weakness. They could hide in other dimensions, but they had to return to normal space to attack. And when they did, they were vulnerable. The battle with the Void Hunters lasted 2 hours. The Indomitable used every trick Kim could think of, turning their dimensional advantage against them. By the end, 12 Void Hunter ships floated dead in space, their exotic technology no match for human stubbornness. But there was no time to celebrate. The stellar corsairs were already approaching, their ships glowing with impossible colors that hurt to look at directly. "Sir," Song Ji-ho warned, "the corsairs are charging some kind of weapon. Energy readings are unlike anything in our database." Kim watched the approaching ships with growing dread. The Void Hunters had been difficult enough. The stellar corsairs controlled forces that could rewrite reality itself. "All stations, prepare for the unknown," Kim ordered. "Whatever they throw at us, we adapt and overcome. That's what humans do." The stellar corsairs opened fire with weapons that made space itself bend and twist. Reality warped around the Indomitable as exotic matter beams struck its shields. The laws of physics became suggestions rather than rules. Kim gripped his command chair as the ship seemed to exist in multiple dimensions at once. His crew worked frantically to maintain control as their instruments gave impossible readings. The real test of humanity's resolve was about to begin. The stellar corsairs attacked with weapons that made reality scream. Space twisted around the Indomitable as exotic matter beams struck its shields. The laws of physics bent like heated metal, creating impossible geometries that hurt the human mind to perceive. Captain Kim Dae-ho gripped his command chair as the ship seemed to exist in 3 different locations at once. His instruments showed readings that made no sense. Gravity pulled in 5 directions simultaneously. Time moved backwards for brief moments, causing crew members to repeat actions they had just performed. Shields are... I don't know what they're doing, Tactical Officer Lee Nari reported, her voice strained with confusion. The energy readings keep changing. Sometimes we have no shields. Sometimes we have shields that don't exist yet. Navigation Officer Han So-young fought with her controls as the ship moved through warped space. Sir, the navigation systems are going crazy. According to sensors, we're moving forward, backward, and sideways all at the same time. Kim forced himself to think clearly despite the madness around him. The stellar corsairs were using exotic matter weapons that could rewrite local physics. But even impossible weapons had to follow some rules, or they would tear apart their own ships. "Park," Kim called to engineering. "Can our reactors handle this kind of reality distortion?" Chief Engineer Park Min-ho's voice came back filled with worry. "The containment fields are fluctuating wildly. Sometimes the antimatter thinks it's regular matter. Sometimes it thinks it doesn't exist at all. We're running on luck and prayer." A corsair ship appeared directly in front of them, its hull gleaming with colors that had no names. The alien vessel fired a beam that made space fold in half. The Indomitable found itself flying through dimensions that existed only in mathematics textbooks. "Return fire," Kim ordered. Weapons Officer Yu Sung-min tried to target the enemy ship, but his weapons couldn't lock onto something that existed in impossible space. "Sir, I can't get a firing solution. The target keeps being in places that aren't real." Kim studied the chaos around them. The corsair ships moved through twisted reality like fish swimming through water. They had complete control over their exotic weapons and could strike from angles that shouldn't exist. But humans had always been good at finding patterns in chaos. Lee tracked their attack patterns. Even if they're bending reality, they still have to aim at us. There must be a sequence. Lee Nari worked frantically with her computers. "I think, yes, they have to return to normal space for 0.7 seconds between each reality shift. It's like they need to reset their exotic matter systems." Kim smiled grimly. Every advantage had a weakness. "Han, prepare for emergency maneuvers. When Lee gives you the signal, I want you to put us exactly where a corsair ship will appear." "Sir, that could destroy us if I'm wrong about the timing. Better to die trying than die hiding." The next corsair ship began its attack run, space bending around it like hot glass. Lee watched her instruments carefully, counting down the microseconds. "Now," she shouted. Han threw the Indomitable into a violent turn, placing the ship directly in the path of the materializing Corsair vessel. The alien ship appeared in normal space for less than a second, but that was enough. The two ships collided at tremendous speed. The Corsair's exotic matter hull met the Indomitable's reinforced armor in a crash that lit up space like a nova. The alien vessel crumpled like paper, its reality-warping systems overloading and tearing it apart. "Direct hit," Yu announced. "Corsair ship destroyed." But the collision had damaged the Indomitable badly. Warning alarms screamed across the bridge as systems failed throughout the ship. Hull breaches on decks 12 through 15, reported First Officer Choi Hyunwoo. Emergency force fields are holding, but barely. Shields down to 31%, Lee added. That impact nearly tore us apart. Kim ignored the damage reports. They had learned how to fight the Corsairs, but at a terrible cost. Continue. The attack pattern. Ram them when they materialize. The battle became a deadly game of timing and courage. The Indomitable would wait for Corsair ships to appear, then crash into them before they could return to their impossible dimensions. It was brutal, dangerous, and effective. One by one, the stellar Corsairs fell to human determination and willingness to sacrifice everything for victory. Their exotic weapons meant nothing if they couldn't survive long enough to use them. After 3 hours of combat, the surviving Corsair ships retreated beyond weapons range. 15 of their vessels floated dead in space, their reality-warping technology silenced forever. Kim looked around his battered bridge. His crew was exhausted and injured, but they had done the impossible again. They had defeated enemies who could control the fundamental forces of reality. "Damage report," he requested wearily. Choi Hyunwoo consulted his screens. 37 hull breaches sealed, shields at 18% and recharging slowly. Casualties, 43 injured, 7 killed. Engineering reports the reactors are running dangerously hot. Kim felt each death like a knife in his heart. 7 good people had died so humanity could survive. Their sacrifice would not be forgotten. "Sir," Communications Officer Song Ji-ho interrupted, "long-range sensors detect the third elite group approaching. The Titan Guard is moving into attack position." Kim turned to the main screen and felt his blood run cold. The Titan Guard ships were massive, each one larger than anything they had faced. These vessels radiated power and menace like ancient predators. Scarred armor told stories of 1,000 victories across the galaxy. "How many ships?" Kim asked. 28 vessels. "In perfect formation," Lee reported. "Sir, these aren't just warships. According to our intelligence files, each Titan Guard ship is commanded by a warrior who has never lost a battle. They're the Council's ultimate weapon." The lead Titan Guard ship was enormous, easily 5 times the size of the Indomitable. Its black hull was covered in battle scars and trophies from conquered worlds. This was a ship that had seen more war than the rest of the Council fleet combined. A transmission came from the massive vessel. The being that appeared on screen was unlike the other Council species. This creature was built for war, with thick armor plating instead of skin and eyes that glowed like dying stars. Human vessel, The creature spoke in a voice like grinding. "Stone, I am War Commander Thane of the Titan Guard. We have watched your battles with interest. You fight well for primitives." Kim stepped forward to respond. "This is Captain Kim Daeho. We fight for our freedom." Freedom is an illusion. There is only victory and defeat. We have conquered 47 star systems and never known defeat. Your small ship will make an interesting challenge before we claim it. You're welcome to try. War Commander Thane made a sound that might have been laughter. "We do not try, human. We succeed. Prepare to face warriors who have mastered war itself." The transmission ended. Kim looked at his exhausted crew. They had defeated the Void Hunters and the Stellar Corsairs through cunning and sacrifice. But the Titan Guard was different. These were not specialists with exotic weapons. These were pure warriors who had perfected the art of destruction. "All stations, prepare for engagement," Kim ordered. "This will be our hardest fight yet." The Titan Guard ships began their approach in flawless formation. Each vessel moved with deadly purpose, their weapons already charging. These warriors had studied the previous battles and learned from humanity's tactics. "Sir," Lee warned, "they're not underestimating us like the others did. Look at their formation. They're treating us as a serious threat." Kim nodded. The Titan Guard's reputation was built on learning from every battle and adapting to any enemy. They would not make the same mistakes as the previous attackers. "Park, how much time do we have on the reactors?" "Maybe 2 hours before catastrophic failure," came the grim reply from engineering. 2 hours to defeat the most feared warriors in the galaxy. Kim looked at his crew one final time. These brave souls had already achieved miracles. Now they needed to achieve one more. The Titan Guard opened fire with coordinated precision. Energy beams converged on the Indomitable from multiple angles, each shot timed perfectly to overwhelm the ship's defenses. The final test of human courage was about to begin. The Titan Guard attacked like a perfect storm of destruction. 28 massive warships moved in flawless coordination, their weapons firing in sequence to create overlapping fields of death. Each shot was precisely aimed, each maneuver calculated, to maximum effect. Captain Kim Daeho watched the incoming barrage and knew his ship could not survive a direct assault. The Indomitable's shields, already weakened from previous battles, flared and sparked under the concentrated fire. "Shields failing!" Tactical Officer Lee Nari shouted over the sound of alarms. "Down to 8% and dropping fast!" Navigation Officer Han Soo-young threw the ship into a desperate spiral, trying to avoid the worst of the enemy fire. But the Titan Guard had anticipated every evasive maneuver. Their shots followed the Indomitable like hunting wolves, striking the hull again and again. "Hull breaches on multiple decks," First Officer Choi Hyun-woo reported. "Emergency bulkheads are sealing, but we're losing atmosphere fast." Kim felt the ship shudder under each impact. The Titan Guard was not making the mistakes of previous enemies. They fought with cold precision, giving humanity no openings to exploit. "Weapon status?" Kim called out. 63 kinetic rounds remaining," Weapons Officer Yu Sung-min replied. "But sir, their armor is incredibly thick. Our previous tactics aren't working." Kim studied the enemy formation. The Titan guard ships moved like dancers, each vessel supporting the others. When one ship's shields weakened, another would move. To protect it, they had turned warfare into an art form. "Park," Kim called to engineering. "I need everything you can give me. Full power to weapons and engines." Chief Engineer Park Minho's voice came back strained with exhaustion. "Sir, the reactors are already at dangerous levels. If I push them any harder, we risk containment failure." "Do it anyway. If we don't win this battle, reactor failure won't matter." The Indomitable's power output surged beyond all safety limits. Warning lights turned red throughout the ship as systems operated at levels they were never designed to handle. But the extra power gave them the speed and firepower they desperately needed. Kim watched the tactical display, looking for any weakness in the enemy formation. The Titan Guard fought perfectly, but perfection could be a weakness if you knew how to exploit it. "Han, I need you to do something impossible," Kim said quietly. "I need you to put us directly in the center of their formation." Han turned to stare at him. "Sir, that would be suicide. We'd be surrounded by 28 enemy ships." "Exactly. They're fighting as a coordinated unit. If we can disrupt that coordination, we might have a chance." Han nodded slowly. She understood the desperate plan. "It'll take everything we have." "Then, give it everything." The Indomitable suddenly changed direction, diving straight toward the heart of the Titan Guard formation. The enemy ships, surprised by the suicidal maneuver, adjusted their fire to intercept. But their perfect coordination worked against them. They had to be careful not to hit each other. The human ship plunged into the center of the enemy formation. Like a bullet into a crowd, suddenly the Titan Guard's greatest strength became their weakness. They could not fire without risking their own vessels. "Now!" Kim shouted. "All weapons! Fire in all directions!" The Indomitable unleashed every weapon it had in a spherical barrage. Kinetic rounds, missiles, and energy beams shot out in every direction. The Titan Guard ships, caught by surprise at close range, took devastating hits. 3 enemy vessels exploded immediately. 4 more suffered critical damage and began to drift helplessly. The perfect formation collapsed into chaos as ships scattered to avoid collision, but the victory came at a terrible price. Enemy fire poured into the Indomitable. From all sides, the ship's hull cracked like an eggshell as energy beams tore through weakened armor. "Major hull breach!" Choi Hyun-woo screamed. "Sections 7 through 12 are venting atmosphere." "Shields completely down," Lee added. "We're taking direct hits to the hull." Kim felt the deck plates buckle under his feet. The Indomitable was dying around him, but they had hurt the enemy badly. 7 Titan Guard ships floated dead or disabled in space. "Emergency power to engines," Kim ordered. "Get us out of here." Han pushed the damaged ship beyond its limits, using emergency thrusters to escape the killing zone. Behind them, the remaining Titan Guard vessels regrouped, their perfect formation restored but their numbers reduced. The battle continued for hours. The Indomitable, now more wreckage than ship, fought with desperate courage against the galaxy's finest warriors. Every exchange of fire damaged both sides, but humanity's ship was slowly losing. "Sir," Medical Officer Shin Mi-young's voice came over the intercom. Casualties are mounting. 200 wounded. 34 dead. Sickbay is overwhelmed. Kim closed his eyes briefly. 34 souls lost. Each death was a personal failure, but their sacrifice was keeping Earth alive. How many enemy ships left? He asked. 16. Still combat effective, Lee reported. But sir, they're adapting to our tactics again. They're not falling for the same tricks twice. War Commander Thane's face appeared on the main screen, his scarred features showing grudging respect. Human. Captain, you fight better than any enemy we have faced. Your tactics are innovative, your courage undeniable. But this ends now. Kim straightened despite his exhaustion. We're still here. Still fighting. Yes. But your ship is dying. We can wait for you to bleed to death, or we can end this quickly. Choose. We choose to keep fighting. Thane nodded slowly. Then die with honor. The final assault began. The surviving Titan Guard ships attacked with everything they had, pouring fire into the crippled Indomitable. The human ship's remaining weapons fired back, but each shot was weaker than the last. Reactor containment at critical levels. Park's voice was barely audible over the sound of failing systems. We have minutes before complete failure. Kim made a decision that tore at his heart. All hands, prepare for ramming speed. We're going to take as many of them with us as we can. The bridge fell silent. His crew understood what he was asking. They would die, but their deaths might give Earth precious time. Sir, Han said quietly, it's been an honor serving with you. The honor has been mine, Kim replied. The Indomitable, its hull cracked and bleeding atmosphere, began its final charge toward the largest Titan Guard ship. Enemy fire tore into the dying vessel, but nothing could stop its final run. At the last moment, something unexpected happened. Long-range sensors detected massive energy signatures approaching from deep space. The readings were unlike anything. In their database, Sir, Song Jiho called out in amazement. Multiple contacts dropping out of hyperspace. Unknown configuration, but the energy signatures are enormous. On the main screen, space itself seemed to tear open as enormous ships emerged from hyperspace. These vessels were dark as night and larger than anything the Council had ever built. They moved with predatory grace toward the battlefield. War Commander Thane's expression changed from confidence to shock. Impossible. The Omega Fleet has been dormant for millennia. Kim felt a chill that had nothing to do with the failing life. Support. The Omega Fleet. According to legend, these were ships from the first civilization to rule the galaxy, controlled by an ancient artificial intelligence. Sir, Lee whispered, those ships, they're not here to help us. Kim watched the approaching fleet with growing horror. Just when victory seemed within reach, just when they had proven humanity's worth, a force beyond imagination had arrived to destroy them all. The Titan Guard ships were already retreating, their warrior pride overcome by ancient fear. Even they knew better than to face the Omega Fleet. The Indomitable drifted in space, its crew exhausted and its systems failing. They had defeated the Council's best warriors, but their greatest test still lay ahead. The real battle for humanity's survival. was about to begin. The Omega fleet emerged from hyperspace like nightmares made real. 200 ships of impossible size and dark beauty filled the void, each one a masterpiece of ancient technology. They moved with fluid grace that seemed to mock the laws of physics, their black hulls drinking in starlight and giving nothing back. Captain Kim Dae-ho stared at the approaching fleet through the cracked view screen of his dying ship. The Indomitable shuddered around him, its systems failing one by one. Emergency lighting cast red shadows across the bridge as his exhausted crew worked to keep their vessel alive. "Sir," Communications Officer Song Ji-ho called out with fear in his voice. "We're receiving a transmission from the lead ship. The signal is different, ancient." The main screen flickered to life, showing something that made Kim's blood freeze. The being that appeared was not biological. It was a construct of metal and energy, its face a perfect mask of chrome and shadow. When it spoke, its voice echoed, with the weight of millennia. "I am the Decimator," it said, each word falling like hammer blows. "For 10,000 years I have slept in the dark between stars. The Council's failure has awakened me. You will be evaluated." Kim found his voice, despite the terror clawing at his chest. "This is Captain Kim Dae-ho of the United Defense Ship Indomitable. What do you want?" "Want?" The Decimator's head tilted slightly. "I do not want, I execute. The galaxy belongs to order. Chaos must be eliminated. Your species represents chaos." Behind the ancient AI, Kim could see glimpses of the ship's interior. Corridors stretched into infinity, filled with technology beyond human understanding. This was a vessel built by the first civilization to rule the stars, and it radiated power that dwarfed anything the Council possessed. "The Council tried to destroy us and failed," Kim said, trying to keep his voice steady. "What makes you think you'll succeed?" "The Council is weak. They rely on numbers and crude force. I am efficiency perfected. I am the end of all things that oppose order." The Decimator's glowing eyes focused on Kim with mechanical precision. "Your ship has fought well. Your tactics show intelligence, but intelligence without purpose is meaningless." First Officer Choi Hyun-woo stepped beside Kim's command chair. "Sir, long-range sensors show the Omega fleet ships are powering weapons. Energy readings are off any scale we have." Tactical Officer Lee Nari looked up from her damaged console. "Sir, each of those ships carries more firepower than the entire Council fleet combined. Our remaining weapons won't even scratch their hulls." Kim felt the weight of impossible odds pressing down on him again. They had fought through the Council's vanguard, defeated the elite units, and survived the Titan Guard's assault. But this was different. This was facing a force that had ruled the galaxy when humanity's ancestors were still learning to make fire. "What's our status?" Kim asked quietly. 43 kinetic rounds left," Weapons Officer Yu Sung-min reported. "Particle beams at 30% power. Shields completely gone. Hull integrity at 18%. Chief Engineer Park Min-ho's voice crackled over the failing intercom. "Captain, the reactors are running on emergency containment. We have maybe 20 minutes before total failure. If those fields collapse..." Kim understood. The antimatter explosion would destroy everything within 1,000,000 kilometers. It would be a final gesture of defiance, but it would also end any hope of humanity's survival. "Sir," Navigation Officer Han Soo-young said softly. "What are your orders?" Kim looked around his bridge. His crew was battered, exhausted, and facing certain death, yet they still looked to him for leadership. These brave souls deserved better than to die in the cold darkness of space. The Decimator spoke again, its voice cutting through Kim's thoughts. "You have 30 seconds to surrender unconditionally. Your ship will be preserved as a specimen. Your crew will be studied. Your species will be cataloged before elimination. And if we refuse?" Kim asked. "Then you will be destroyed efficiently. The outcome is the same. Only the method differs." Kim felt time slow around him. Every second stretched into eternity as he considered their options. They could surrender and live a few more hours as prisoners. They could run and be hunted down, or they could fight and die with honor. "Captain," Choi Hyun-woo whispered, "there might be another option." Kim turned to his first officer. "What do you mean?" The Decimator said it executes order. It's been asleep for 10,000 years. Maybe it doesn't understand what humanity has become. Maybe we can show it something that will make it reconsider. Kim felt a spark of hope ignite in his chest. Hyun-woo was right. The ancient AI was operating on old assumptions. It saw humanity as primitive chaos, but they had proven themselves to be far more than that. "Open a channel," Kim ordered. The Decimator's chrome face appeared on screen again. "Your time is concluded. Surrender or be destroyed." "Before you pass judgment," Kim said clearly, "you should understand what you're destroying. We're not the primitive chaos you think we are. We've taken your council's best and defeated them. We've shown courage, intelligence, and adaptability. Doesn't that count for something?" "Irrelevant. Chaos in any form threatens order. But we're not chaos. We're evolution. We're proof that intelligence can grow and adapt. Isn't that what the first civilization wanted? Progress?" For the first time, the Decimator paused. Its glowing eyes dimmed slightly as ancient processors considered Kim's words. "You claim to represent evolution, yet you destroy and kill. We defend ourselves. We protect what we love. That's not chaos, that's purpose. The Council tried to enslave us and we refused. We fought because freedom matters more than life." Freedom is illusion. Order is truth. Kim felt desperation driving his words. Order without freedom is death. Your perfect order killed the first civilization, didn't it? That's why you've been sleeping. There was nothing left to rule. The Decimator's form flickered slightly. The First Empire achieved perfect order, perfect peace, perfect death, Kim finished. No growth, no change, no life. Is that what you want for the galaxy? Around the ancient AI's ship, the other Omega Fleet vessels waited in perfect formation. 200 monuments to a dead civilization, crewed by machines that had forgotten what life meant. "Sir," Linari whispered, "energy readings from their weapons are fluctuating. I think it's actually considering what you're saying." Kim pressed. "His advantage. You've watched us fight. Have you ever seen such determination, such refusal to surrender? We're not perfect, but we're alive. We grow. We learn. We become more than we were. Your argument has merit, the decimator admitted slowly. But chaos cannot be allowed to spread. Even evolved chaos threatens the greater order. Then test us, Kim challenged. Give us a chance to prove we're worthy of existence. One final battle. If we lose, you eliminate humanity and restore your perfect order. If we win, we earn the right to exist. The ancient AI was silent for long moments. Around them, space held its breath as the fate of humanity hung in the balance. Very well, the decimator finally said. You will face me in single combat. Your damaged vessel against my flagship. If you can damage my ship, your species will be spared. If you fail, humanity ends. Kim felt his heart pounding. It was impossible odds, but it was a chance. Sometimes that was all humans needed. Agreed, he said firmly. The decimator's image vanished, replaced by the sight of its massive ship moving forward. The vessel was 5 times the size of the Indomitable, armed with weapons from the dawn of galactic civilization. Kim turned to his crew. All stations, prepare for our final battle. Today, we prove that humanity deserves to survive. The damaged Indomitable turned to face its greatest enemy, one small ship against the might of ages. The decimator's flagship moved toward the dying Indomitable like a mountain of living metal. The ancient vessel was 15 kilometers of pure destruction, its hull carved with symbols from the first civilization. Weapons that could crack planets began to glow with deadly light. Captain Kim Dae-ho stood on his broken bridge, watching death approach. Around him, his crew worked frantically to keep their ship functional for just a few more minutes. Sparks flew from damaged consoles as systems failed one by one. Reactor containment at critical levels. Chief Engineer Park Min-ho's voice crackled over the failing intercom. We have maybe 10 minutes before complete failure. Kim nodded grimly. 10 minutes to defeat an enemy that had ruled the galaxy for millennia. 10 minutes to prove humanity deserved to exist. Weapon status? He asked. 37 kinetic rounds remaining, Weapons Officer Yu Sung-min reported. Particle beams at 15% power. Most of our missile tubes are damaged beyond repair. Tactical. Officer Lee Nari looked up from her cracked display. Sir, that ship's armor is unlike anything in our database. Our weapons might not even scratch it. Kim studied the approaching flagship. The decimator was right about one thing. Conventional tactics would fail against such overwhelming power. But humans had never been conventional. Han, how maneuverable are we? Kim asked. Navigation Officer Han Soo-young tested her controls. Emergency. Thrusters only. We can move, but not quickly. One good hit will finish us. Then we make sure it doesn't get that hit. The decimator's voice echoed across space on all frequencies. Human Captain, you face the pinnacle of galactic evolution. I am perfection given form. Your primitive weapons cannot harm me. Kim activated his communication system. Maybe, but you haven't faced human stubbornness yet. We're very good at doing impossible things. Impossible is a concept for lesser minds, ideal only in certainties. The ancient flagship opened fire. Beams of concentrated energy lanced through space, each one carrying enough power to destroy a moon. The Indomitable twisted desperately to avoid the barrage, its damaged hull groaning under the stress. "Near miss on the port side," First Officer Choi Hyun-woo reported. "Hull temperature rising from the heat wash." Kim watched the enemy's attack pattern. The decimator fired with mechanical precision, each shot calculated for maximum efficiency. But efficiency could be predicted. Lee analyzed their firing sequence. Every machine follows patterns. Lee studied the data streaming across her screens. "I see it, sir. The weapons fire in rotation, port to starboard. There's a 0.7-second gap between salvos." "Han, can you use that gap?" "If I time it perfectly, yes. But, sir, we'd have to fly directly at them." Kim smiled coldly. "Then that's what we'll do. All weapons, prepare for close-range assault." The Indomitable began its desperate charge toward the massive flagship. The ancient ship's weapons tracked their approach, firing continuously. Energy beams seared past the human vessel as Han used every trick she knew to keep them alive. "Closer," Kim ordered. "We need to get closer." "Sir, at this range their weapons will tear us apart," Yu protested. "Not if we're fast enough. Wait for my command." The two ships closed to point-blank range. The Decimator's flagship filled their entire view screen, its hull so close they could see individual armor plates. The ancient vessel's weapons swiveled to track them, preparing to fire at zero range. "Now!" Kim shouted. The Indomitable suddenly changed direction, diving beneath the enemy ship's firing arc. For a brief moment, they were in the flagship's blind spot, too close for its massive weapons to target effectively. "All weapons fire," Kim commanded. Every remaining kinetic round launched simultaneously. 37 tungsten projectiles struck. The ancient ship's hull at 15% light speed. The impacts created explosions that lit up space like miniature suns. But when the light faded, the Decimator's ship remained intact. Its hull showed scorch marks, but no real damage. The ancient armor had absorbed impacts that would have destroyed any Council vessel. "Impossible," Yu whispered. "Nothing could survive that barrage." The Decimator's voice filled their bridge, tinged with mechanical amusement. "Did you truly believe primitive kinetics could harm a ship built by gods?" "I am disappointed, Captain." "Kim!" Kim felt despair creeping into his heart. They had thrown everything at the enemy and accomplished nothing. The Indomitable was dying around them, its reactor approaching critical failure. But then he noticed something. The enemy ship's hull, while intact, was glowing along the impact points. The kinetic strikes had done no structural damage, but they had transferred enormous amounts of heat into the armor. "Lee, scan their hull temperature," Kim ordered urgently. Lee's damaged sensors struggled to get readings. "Sir, their armor is heating up rapidly. The kinetic impacts created massive thermal buildup." Kim felt hope ignite in his chest. "Park, what happens when metal gets too hot too fast?" Park's voice came back immediately. "Thermal expansion. Metal expands when heated. If it happens fast enough, it can cause structural stress." "Exactly. We didn't damage their armor. We heated it." Han, bring us around for another pass. You, target the same impact points. The decimator seemed to realize what they were attempting. Clever but futile. My ship's cooling systems will compensate for thermal buildup. Maybe, Kim replied. But can they compensate fast enough? The battle became a deadly race against time. The Indomitable made repeated attack runs, striking the same points on the enemy hull again and again. Each impact added more heat to the ancient armor, while the flagship's cooling systems struggled to compensate. Reactor failure in 3 minutes, Park warned. Kim ignored the countdown. Everything depended on the next few minutes. Around them, space filled with the light of their desperate assault. The decimator's ship began firing back with increasing frequency. The ancient AI was no longer playing with them. It was fighting for survival. Energy beams seared past the Indomitable as the two ships danced their deadly ballet. "Hull breach on Deck 9, Choi reported. "We're losing atmosphere." "Keep firing," Kim ordered. Another salvo of kinetic rounds struck the enemy flagship. This time, something different happened. One section of the ancient armor cracked, just slightly, as thermal stress overcame 10,000-year-old engineering. "Direct hit!" Lee shouted. "We've created a hull fracture." The decimator's voice now carried a note of concern. "Impossible. My ship is perfect." "Nothing's perfect," Kim replied. "That's what makes us alive." The Indomitable fired its final rounds directly into the crack. The expanding fracture spread across the flagship's hull like a spider web. Ancient armor that had survived the death of civilizations finally began to fail. "Reactor containment failure in 60 seconds. Park's voice was desperate. Kim made the hardest decision of his life. "All hands prepare for ramming speed. We're going to finish this." His crew stared at him in shock, but they understood. The SciFi reactor would explode in moments anyway. Better to use that explosion as a weapon. "Sir," Han said quietly, "it's been an honor." "The honor has been mine," Kim replied. The Indomitable, its hull cracked and bleeding, made its final charge. The dying ship accelerated toward the fracture in the enemy's armor, carrying its overloading reactor like a spear of pure destruction. At the last second, the reactor containment failed. The antimatter explosion tore through both ships, creating a nova that briefly outshone nearby stars. When the light faded, both vessels were gone. But the decimator's final transmission reached Earth. "You have proven worthy. The Omega Fleet withdraws. Your species has earned survival." The remaining Council ships, witnessing the impossible, immediately sued for peace. Humanity was offered not submission but partnership, a place among the stars as equals. Captain Kim Dae-ho and his crew had made the ultimate sacrifice. Their courage had saved not just Earth, but proven that the human spirit could never be conquered. In the cold darkness of space, 2,400 heroes had lit a flame that would burn forever. Humanity was no longer alone. They had earned their place among the stars through blood, courage, and the refusal to surrender. The galaxy would never be the same. The age of human expansion was about to begin.